Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Welcome along to the GAA Postcast in association with Paddy Power. I'm David Jennings from the Racing Post, and what a weekend we have in store in the Munster and Leinster Hurling Championship as All-Ireland champions Limerick make their first championship appearance on Sunday as they welcome Cork to the Gaelic grounds. We'll be joined by Aidan Fogarty in part 2 to talk all things hurling. But first up, it's football chat, and I'm delighted to say former Meath goalkeeper Paddy O'Rourke is our brand spanking new football pundit, and believe me, this fella doesn't let anything through his hands. We're also joined by shrewd Paddy Power GAA trader Damian Fitzgerald, who had a phenomenal 2018 on the tipping front, so it's worth your while to stay tuned. Right lads, before we get stuck into the weekend's matches, it's time for our Quickfire Questions, and the first 5 are for you, Paddy. Number 1, you were in Park Tailteann last Sunday to see Meath stumble over Offaly, just like I was. It was hard to watch. But the question for you is, how far do you think Meath will get in this year's championship?
I think realistically, they have to be looking to get into a Leinster final. They're on the right side of the draw. They have teams that are rated below them in the game in 10 days' time down in Carlow. Get over that, then they're playing the likes of a Westmeath in the Leinster semi-final. So it's definitely achievable. Then they're going to meet Dublin or Kildare in a Leinster final. If that pans out to plan, they're straight into the Super 8s. If they don't, they've a one-round knockout to get into the Super 8. So I think a Leinster final and a Super 8 is a realistic chance.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think one game, it could, obviously they're not going to beat Dublin in the Leinster final, we don't think, but they're just one game then away from the Super 8. So it could be a big summer for me, despite last week's workmanlike win over Offaly. Okay, Paddy, number 2. Tell me the 8 teams you think will reach the Super 8s.
Dublin, Mayo, Kerry, Tyrone, Donegal, Galway, Meath and Roscommon.
Oh, okay. So you're leaving Monaghan out.
I am.
They're the big omission. Okay, they're the 8 you think. Is there any Monaghan, anybody else you were almost sneaking in there?
I was looking at the likes of maybe a Kildare or maybe who else was I looking at there? One of the it was kind of Kildare or Monaghan were the two that was kind of on the edge, but I just went for omitting them.
Okay, so I think Roscommon would be the one I disagree with there. Okay, moving on to number 3. If Dublin don't win the All-Ireland in 2019, who will?
I'm going to go for Mayo. I think the James Horan factor and the fact that they've been to Croker once this year already and picked up national silverware will be a massive boost for them if they can get all their key men fit. And I think he's rested and played lads to make sure that they're ready for championship. So Mayo for a big summer.
Do you think Mayo are better this year than you've seen in years past?
I think so. I think the player management has been a bit better. He's blooded new players, and Killian O'Connor is obviously coming back from injury. He's going to be raring to go. If he's fit and healthy and close to his best, he's going to have a big summer again and going to be one of their major score getters. And he's vital up front because they just don't have the key scoring forwards without him. But when he's there, they're a completely different animal. The likes of Colin Boyle then. Lee Keegan, Aidan O'Shea has looked fitter and slimmer than ever before, and he's getting back to that kind of 2012 form where he went around the country bullying people in games. So Mayo for a big summer for me.
Oh, the Mayo fans are getting excited again. We've been here before. Okay, number 4. If I was to give you a tenner, and if your pick is good enough, I might give you a tenner. If I was to give you a free tenner to have on any bet in the football championship, and it can be anything, what would you put it on?
I think this might roll into the next question as well, but if I had a tenner now, a free tenner from David Jennings, I'd have it on James McCarthy to be the player of the year for 2019.
Okay, and your question number 5 was, who would you back to be the 2019 footballer of the year at this early stage? So I'm guessing your answer is James McCarthy.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah,
and do you think he's got the full package?
Yeah, I think he's kind of the unsung hero in that Dublin team. If there's no job too dirty for him, he goes out, he just gets on with his business. He's in the engine room since 2010 there, wing back, midfield. He's popped up with crucial scores. Take Cluxton out of the equation. I can see him being the next Dublin captain, and he just kind of has all the attributes of what the Dublin team is all about at the moment, and he's their main man this summer.
And tell me this, you've played against most of these Dublin players quite a few times. Was a part of the management's kind of structure to try and solve James McCarthy? Was he one of the players that were pinpointed in team talks before 4 games against Dublin in the past?
Yeah, we wanted to try and have him going back towards his own goals as much as possible. We try and set up, in I remember 2013 when it was kind of a shot out of the dark. We kind of had Dublin on the ropes a little bit in the Leinster final 2013. We matched up Eamon Wallace against Jack McCaffrey to try and, counteract the pace and maybe try and make him defend a bit more. And like that, we tried to get Graham Riley onto James McCarthy and try and make him go back towards his own goals as much as possible and maybe try and test out his defending. But, any time you try and test him out, he kind of comes through it with flying colours. And no matter what the player is, he just goes out. He does everything simple. He very rarely gives the ball away. And if there's a lad coming through the middle that needs to be stopped, he'll stop them as well. He's as hard as nails, and he's one of the toughest opponents probably on that Dublin team.
Yeah, it's funny on that. I actually asked Stephen Bray a couple of times. I said, "Who's the best footballer you've ever marked?" And he said James McCarthy without hesitation, which I think is quite interesting. Okay, Damian Fitzgerald, time for your 3 quickfire questions. You're only getting 3. Paddy got 5, but you're only getting 3. Before we move on to them, just prices on, if you have them to hand, on James McCarthy to be Footballer of the Year and Mayo to win the All-Ireland. Paddy's 2 selections.
Yeah, James McCarthy is 25s for Footballer of the Year and Mayo are 8s for the All-Ireland.
Lovely stuff. And your first question is, how was last weekend from a Paddy Power perspective on the football front, and what was your worst result?
It was a pretty good start to the year on the football front. A bit of a low-key one with the football matches last week, and of course with a lot of big handicaps with like 6 games with like 7 to 9 point handicaps. And the pluses came up, like in 5 and 6 games, it was the plus handicaps that got over the line, so that was pretty good for us. So it was a pretty decent start to the year. Our worst result was probably the one game where the minus handicap went. Roscommon hammered Leitrim, and I do. Yeah, we went from 6 to 7 on that handicap, and we laid it fairly steadily. So that was definitely our worst result last week.
Okay, dokes. Number 2. What was the biggest bet struck with Paddy Power last weekend, and who was it on?
The biggest bet last week was of just a 5k match double on Meath and Tyrone, both to win. So
it was getting stinky bum time with 10 minutes to go in both games.
He got his money, but yeah, he had a bit of a sweat for it, all right.
Wow, 5k double. Meath and Tyrone. Okay, number 3. You weren't on last week with us, so tell us who you were back to lift the Sam Maguire in 2019 at the current prices.
I think at the current prices, I would be agreeing with you, DJ. I think I've seen you tipping these up, Donegal.
Yes.
I think
finally I found somebody who's singing from the same hymn sheet.
I think at 20 to 1, I think on talent there's not a lot between them and Tyrone. I thought there was a few worrying signs for Tyrone last week in that Derry match, and Donegal will have them in an Ulster semi-final, and I'd be giving Donegal a very good chance in that match. And even if they lose to Tyrone, I think they should still get back to the Super 8s. And there are a lot of good forwards, Donegal, and they have a nice mix of kind of youth and experience as well, with a lot of younger players coming through. So I think at 20 to 1, Donegal give you a run for your money.
I think so too, and anybody who bought our GAA supplement a couple of weeks ago, they would have backed Donegal at 22 to 1 for the All-Ireland. So it's time to move on to this weekend's matches in the Football Championship, and we're going to kick off in the Ulster Championship Saturday, 7 o'clock, Breffni Park, Cavan v Monaghan. Damian Fitzgerald, can I get some prices and handicaps?
Yeah, the prices are Cavan 21 to 10, the draw at 15 to 2, Monaghan 8 to 15. It's a 2-point handicap. Cavan +2 at evens, Monaghan -2 at evens, and handicap draw is 17 to 2.
Paddy O'Rourke, is this current Monaghan side still All-Ireland contenders?
No. They don't have enough squad depth to win an All-Ireland.
And when you look at Monaghan through the last 5 or 6 years, is there something in them that's stopping them from going? Like last year, they got to a semi-final. They were in front with 5 minutes to go against Tyrone. Is there something just stopping them? What is it that's stopping them just getting to the next level, getting to an All-Ireland final?
I think defensively, I think that they can be got at the back. They're over-reliant on Conor McManus to shoot the lights out every game he goes out. I know Jack McCarron's going to be in there with him, and he's a score-getter as well, but I think if you go back through, the championship last year, like maybe the two main scorers were, one was the corner forward and the other was the goalie. So it's they're kind of over reliant on too many lads that on an off day don't score enough to outscore a team to win a game.
So you don't think they're going to reach the Super 8? So are you kind of thinking that it could be a bit of a struggle this year for Monaghan?
I think so, yeah. There'll be a lot of people will think that I'm going mad, but I just
thought
don't
that
see
long
them.
ago, Paddy.
I just don't see them getting back there this year. I think that some of the players out around the engine room, their race is run. Like, Vinnie Corey he's into his mid-30s. You've Desi Mo on the wrong side of 30 now. Darren Hughes is out hurt with a broken ankle. They may struggle now against a Tyrone or against a Donegal there now. If their paths clash, I think they'll be beaten.
Damian Fitzgerald, is the 2-point handicap a fair reflection in the difference in quality between these two sides? Or if Monaghan had their full team, would the handicap be 3-4 points maybe if Darren Hughes is playing?
It'd probably be 3 if at a neutral venue it'd probably be 3. I think Breffni Park is a bit of an advantage for Cavan. And also it's kind of a rivalry game, so they're generally just a bit closer anyway. Like if Monaghan were playing maybe another team that'd be rated the same as Cavan, say Roscommon or someone, they might be a little bit shorter, but just because it's a rivalry game and Cavan are at home, I think you'd have to give it has to be a little bit tighter in the betting. And
so yous are sitting down in the Paddy Power department, yous are talking about what the handicap is going to be in this game. What was the first thing you said?
I said 2. I think like
you have the power.
I do sometimes. I think Monaghan, like, they have had a couple of very poor results in Ulster in the last few years as well, like losing to a down team and Fermanagh last year. Like Cavan would be better than both that down team and that Fermanagh team. So Monaghan, they can throw in the odd kind of wobbly performance in Ulster, and they've shown that over the last few years. So I think you do have to give Cavan a chance here. Like obviously Monaghan most likely winners, but at home, and Cavan do seem to have everyone ready and fit and ready to go. So I think you'd have to give them an outside chance here, definitely.
Okay, dokes. Paddy O'Rourke, who wins and why?
I'm just looking at the last 5 meetings there. That there's only been 3 points between them, and even they met in the league. I wouldn't read into league form too much. It was 14 points to 1-8. I still think on a pitch like that, if Cavan are in discipline, I think Rory Began could clip 3 or 4 or 5 frees, long range frees. If they can get quick ball into McManus, he still will score with Jack McCarron. I can see Monaghan just scraping across the line, but like that, the last 5 meetings they've been only separated by 3 points or less. That'd be Monaghan for me, but it'd be a winning margin of 1 to 3 points.
Okay, so Monaghan to win by 1 to 3 points for Paddy O'Rourke. What about you, Damian Fitzgerald?
I was actually going to tip up the exact same thing. Monaghan by 1 to 3 points is 13 to 5.
Lads, a bit of clarity.
13 to 5. I don't really see any way this game isn't very tight, and like it'll come down to a couple of points near the end. And I think Monaghan, with just Conor McManus, probably have that little bit of extra class and might be enough to just get them out of there.
Okay, so Damian Fitzgerald agrees Monaghan to win by 1, 2 or 3 points. What price was that again, Damian?
13 to 5. 13
to 5. Okay, so the two lads are singing from the same hymn sheet. And is that the best bet on the match coupon, Paddy O'Rourke, or have you found something else?
I'm going to go for Cavan over 14.5 points. It's 5 to 6. It's short, but I think at home this Saturday evening, I think that they'll score 15 points or more.
And we've seen a couple of times, even against Meath in the last couple of years, they do have decent forwards, Cavan.
Oh, yeah, they can do. Yeah. I've seen them. Like, if you look back, they played Roscommon in the league and they clipped 3-13. So, they have the scoring ability there for clipping them sort of scores. If they could break the defence and get it, maybe a goal, maybe 2 goals. They definitely have scoring forwards. They've Martin Riley, they've McVitie coming bursting through, Moyna as well, and then you've Killian Clark at midfield, who should give them a platform to attack Monaghan's defence.
Excellent. So over 14.5 Cavan points. Damian Fitzgerald, what's the best bet on the match coupon?
I the winning margin 1-3. I think that's the best bet. Hopefully.
Lovely stuff. And the bad news is I actually agree with you as well. I think this is going to be tight, but I think Monaghan will scrape over the line by probably 3 points or less. So moving on to Sunday, Newry, Park Esler, 4 o'clock. It is Down v Armagh. And Damian, can we get some prices off you, please?
Yeah, the prices are Armagh are 4-5, draws 15-2, and Down are 11-8. Armagh minus 111-10, Down plus 110-11, and the handicap draw 8.
Okay, I have a strong opinion on this, but we'll come to that later. Paddy O'Rourke, will this be Kieran McGeeney's last year in charge of Armagh?
I think it will. I think he's brought them as far as he can. I know people are saying that they've a fresh, young-looking squad and they've made progress under McGeeney into a mid-Division 2 team. But I think maybe a fresh voice is needed and a different direction and guidance. As he really need, if he can break into the Super 8s like he did back in 2014, they got to a quarter final against Donegal. It might save him, but I think this is last year.
Okay, dokes. Damien, how good is this Armagh side? I think they're probably a little bit underestimated.
I'm not sure I agree, to be honest. I think they're at a decent standard. They're a decent Division 2 team, but they don't really have a lot of consistency, and they lose and draw games that they should be winning. And I think they're good. They have good players, and in an open kind of game, they've a very good record in the qualifiers. Remember their qualifier with Roscommon last year was a brilliant game. In an open kind of game where they're let play football, I think they are pretty good. But that isn't what happens in Ulster Championship matches, and I think like their poor record in Ulster over the last 3 or 4 years under McGeeney, I think it really comes down to, I think they struggle with teams that set up defensively. Last year against Fermanagh, they were absolutely awful. One of the worst performances I saw all year in the Ulster Championship. And like Down are going to set up very similar. So I think they've got good footballers and they can be a good side. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them going on a run through the qualifiers. But I think Sunday, I'm not sure I'd like to be on them.
Oh no, this is a disaster. This is my banker of the weekend. Paddy O'Rourke, who wins?
I'm going for Down.
Oh Lord.
I looked at the clips from the 2017 meeting in Newry as well, and in the first half, Armagh got 2 goals but could still only muster up 2 or 3 points before half time. Down outscored them with that kind of defensive game that they're going to bring to Sunday. They're going to drop back and they're going to counter attack. I know that the Down team has been decimated, but I think the home advantage, and I think they're kind of the masters of that blanket sit back counter attack football in the last few years, and I think they're going to, this could be their one knockout punch to have a big say in Ulster. They won't go further than this game, but they'll beat Armagh.
Wow. Okay, dokes. Damian Fitzgerald. Yeah, tell me he's wrong. I
can't have a friend, DJ. I pretty much agree with all that. I just think it's really well set up for Down. Armagh have a couple of injuries as well. Niall Grimley, who's a massive player for them, is out at midfield, and Stephen Campbell. So I think I think game is set up perfectly for Down. They've done it a couple of years ago. Armagh were coming in a bit hyped at that time as well, and I just think Armagh are going to struggle with Down setup, so definitely Down for me.
But Damien, go back to last year's championship. Could Down do what Armagh did? Could they beat Westmeath by 11 points, scoring 316? Could they beat Sligo by 6 points, scoring 119? Could they put it up to Roscommon and score 119 in the match? Surely this Armagh side is just a couple of steps ahead of where Down are at the moment, no?
Down would not be able to do that. They don't have the players to do that, but they have the players to play very defensive. And like I just can't get my head out of the last couple of years of Armagh performances in Ulster. They're just, in the first round, they've been shocking. They haven't been able to score. They just look like they've never played against the blanket before. They were able to beat Fermanagh in the league, so maybe that'll give you a bit of hope. But I just that performance against Fermanagh last year in the championship was so poor. I just can't get it out of my head.
Okay. So Paddy O'Rourke, what's the best bet on the Down v Armagh match coupon?
Another one for the points. I think the unders 32.5. the last 5 championship meetings, I know a few of them are back into the mid 2000s, but they've 28 points maximum, 31, 26, 26. I think the under 32.5 is at 5 to 6. If you wanted to find something else and double it up, that'd be the one I'd be looking at.
Okay, nothing wrong with that. 5 to 6, almost even money, under 32.5 match points. Well, you've been agreeing with everything each other has said so far. So I presume that's your best bet as well, Damian, is it?
No, I'll go for just down to win at 11 to 8.
Oh Lord, holy God. Okay, well, I thought Armagh -1 at 10 to 11 was the bet of the weekend, but time will tell. Okay.
It'll be right.
Yeah, God, it sounds like used to. Moving on to Markievicz Park, 3:30 Sunday. It is Sligo v Galway, and can we get some prices, Damian?
Yeah, it's 1 to 25 Galway, 25 is the draw, 10 Sligo. Handicap, I suppose, where the interest is. Sligo plus 10 is 10 to 11. Handicap draw 11 to 1, and Galway -10 is evens.
Paddy O'Rourke, I think this Galway team is one of the top teams that's really going to struggle this year. How far do you think they'll go in this year's championship?
I have it written down here. Super 8's no further. I think the last couple of years that they've promised so much and delivered so little. I look back to that game when Tipperary came through the qualifiers with a bit of momentum and totally pulled them asunder up in Croke Park. I know they got through there and they played Dublin and they got ahead and missed a penalty in last year's championship as well. But I think Damian Comer being out and not having any sort of league form under his belt is a massive loss. Just looking through the team that was announced during the week inside, I know Anton O'Leary, I think he set up a brilliant goal, if you can remember, against Mayo in the league. Ian Burke inside is one of the best forwards in the country, but at full forward, I think he needs to be in beside Damian Comer and let Damian Comer run around and bulldoze everything around him and leave Ian Burke for the scraps, and he'd kick scores. But just it's time for Shane Walsh to step up and be the main man week in, week out. I think he just kind of hits form now and again for Galway. I think this summer he needs to really stamp his authority on the championship.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's a bit of a Sam Crow. He's a bit in and out. Shane Walsh, he has the talent, but we just haven't seen it. We need to see it more, I think. 10-point handicap here, Damian. Are you a little bit worried about Galway and that performance against London?
Yeah, I think you'd have to be a little bit worried. It was very poor performance. Like you'd want to be seeing going into a Connacht final. You'd want to see a good performance here from them, I think. Especially because I don't think Sligo are much good. Like, we put up the handicap originally at 9 and it's moved to 10. Like, Sligo, Galway, they do have a couple of players coming in. Like, Kieran Malloy is an addition from Corrafin if they can add him in. And on paper, their forwards do look good. I know they struggled a bit against London, but Sligo are very, very poor defensively. They're letting in 20 points a game in Division 3, which is massive scores to be letting in the league. Like, I think actually the rest of Division 3, a team's average score was 13 points, and when they played against Sligo, a team's average score was 20 points. So you can see
team in the whole National League not to get a single point were Sligo. Yeah,
and they were conceding massive scores. So, like, I think if you want to see here now Galway going into a Connacht final, you'd want to see a good performance here, or if they don't put in a good performance here, you kind of be struggling to give them a chance against presumably Mayo in a Connacht final.
And just to let you know, lads, just to even it out a bit, did you know that your beloved Downside only beat Sligo by 2 points in the league?
It was at the very start of the league now. It
was round two. If this Armagh side couldn't beat Sligo by more than 2 points, there'd be something wrong. Paddy O'Rourke, do you think this 10-point handicap is too much for Galway to try and beat?
It's a strange one. I think Markievicz Park will suit that sort of a game. If you're looking at that, beating the handicap, it's a scoring venue. If you think of Salt Hill, there could be a gale force wind into 1 goal. So each half, that'll be the shooting goals. I think this pitch, unless Sligo come out and set up ultra defensively, but I think they could break the handicap.
Okay, Damian Fitzgerald, what's the best bet on the match coupon for Sligo v Galway?
As we were talking there about Sligo being poor defensively, I think you're looking at Galway to get goals. 11-4 Galway over 2.5 goals, I think is worth a chance. And 23-10 Danny Cummins, any-time goal scorer as well. He's well able to get a goal, and I think it's a game where Galway should be able to get chances anyway.
Beautiful. Paddy O'Rourke, the best bet on the match coupon?
I think he's after robbing my notes.
Lads, come on now. There's something going on here. Have you ever met before?
No, Danny Cummins, I've it written down here. First goal, 15-2, and any time in Galway to win, 12-5. I know Danny. He's big into the horses. He is a horse with Andrew McNamara, Mandarin Monarch. He's back in a bit of form. He was injured for earlier this year, late last year. But
the horse or the human?
Both of them. I think both of them. No, but that was my bet. Any time in Galway to win, 12-5. Danny Cummins.
Wow. Okay, so he's either going to have a Beano or disaster this weekend, lads. Okay, now it's time for our best bets of the weekend.
This will not be beaten.
Okay, Paddy O'Rourke, on your debut, what's the banker in the football championship this weekend?
The banker of the weekend is Cavan to score over 14.5 points. But if you wanted to go for a bit of value, put the three of mine together there in a treble. Cavan over 14.5, 5-6. Down in Armagh under 32.5, 5-6. And Danny Cummins anytime in Galway to win 12 or it's working out at 10.4 to 1.
Beautiful, a nice treble there. But the overall nap is Cavan over 14.5.
Cavan over 14.5.
Damian Fitzgerald, your nap of the weekend?
I like the Monaghan 1 to 3 points at 13-5.
Okay, well that rules out my nap of the weekend because we like to do a treble, which was Armagh -1. So I'm going to go for Sligo +10. I think Galway will win comfortably by about 5 or 6 points. So that's this weekend's football chat. My thanks to our brilliant debutant, Mr. Paddy O'Rourke, who's been excellent talking all things football. Damian Fitzgerald will be back with us in part 2, where we'll be joined by Aidan Fogarty to preview this weekend's hurling action.
Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log into your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18+ begambleaware.org.
Yes, welcome back to the GAA Podcast. Now, after his roaring success on last year's podcast, we're delighted to welcome back Aidan Taggy Fogarty, who's going to be our hurling pundit for the duration of the summer. And we're also joined in part 2 once again by Damian Fitzgerald from our sponsors, Paddy Power. Welcome back, Aidan. So your first question, we have 5 quickfire questions for you, and your first one is, what surprised you most about the action last weekend?
David, how are you doing? Nice to be back. I didn't think I'd get the phone call for this year, but
so we couldn't be held without you.
The few odds it's out last year now were sceptical, but look, I'll take it as it comes. What surprised me about last week, I suppose, David, really was Waterford and Cork losing their home game. You know, we talked about winning their home games is so important and getting off to a good start. And learning from last year, I suppose anyone that didn't win their home games struggled later on in the championship. And I think there was a 70% rate of who qualified actually won their home games. So for me, Cork losing at home to Páirc Uí Chaoimh to Tipperary was huge for their confidence. And Waterford, Waterford made a big deal. Páirc Fanning made a big deal about it this year that we're going to Walsh Park, we're going to play our home games, which is fine and understandable, and it's important to do that. But they really didn't set down the marker. So for me, the big upset was Waterford and Cork losing their home game. And now they're on the back foot straight away. And 2 of them teams are away this weekend.
With that in mind, your second question, Aidan, is, and I think the answer to this is yes. Is 9-1 about Cork lifting Liam McCarthy not a massive overreaction to just one game?
I don't think so, David. I'm not a big fan of Cork, and I haven't been.
Tell me why.
I talked about them last year. Right, okay, the Munster champions 2 years in a row. But I just think their defence is just letting them down terribly. And I think time is running out for them. They won a Munster title last year. They got to a sniff of getting to an All-Ireland final. In fairness to them, they did. But what they should have learned from that really is to extend the panel and, to find maybe a different array of one or 2 or 3 people to come in and make a difference. Now, John Myler, in my opinion, hasn't done that. He's gone back to the same old. He's like he's picking his 15 good hurlers, but just put them in different positions at different times of the year. And I think they're going to be found out again. And now they're after losing in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. They're on the back foot. Okay, albeit their forwards when they get going are exceptional. But if you look at last weekend, take out Patrick Horgan, they were very limited. Harnedy, Lehan underperformed right his first game, but still Horgan is making that forward line tick. And we talk about how good the forwards are. Take Horgan out of it. Are they that good? And for me, they unmarked the Tipperary forwards last Sunday, and they were just all over the shop. That full back line, I don't believe is good enough to go forward. And their half back line also, because I think for any team to win in Ireland or even compete against this, their half back line has to be the launch pad, and they're struggling in them areas. And they're a nice team. And nice teams don't win in Ireland.
Oh, he's back. Okay, question number 3. If you could back anyone for All Ireland glory right now, who would it be?
Well, right now, at the minute, we've only seen a couple of teams in action last year. If I was to back someone right now, at the minute, it would probably be Clare as an outsider. I think Limerick are going to be thereabouts, obviously. They were current Ireland champions. I haven't seen them play yet this year. They're trudging through the league. They're playing very well. I haven't seen them yet, though, in championship. But I just feel, as an outside bet or an outside chance, Clare, for me, just could get there. They have the players, they have Peter Duggan, they have Shane O'Donnell, they have key men, they have Kelly, they have McInerney. Maybe just their defence. They're very good at the short pass and the running game, but I think their defence are missing that kind of a Lohan maybe, or even a Brendan Bugler type player in defence. And if they could maybe fix that in the centre back, or maybe the wing back, and get their running game going. And in saying that, will they win Munster? I don't know. I think they're more kind of an Ireland contender than a Munster contender, if that makes sense. But as an outside bet, I'd be backing Clare for an outside bet, yeah.
Okay, Clare for the All-Ireland. That brings us on, I suppose, to the next question. After what you saw last weekend, who wins the Munster Championship? So you're saying that you'd prefer Clare for the All-Ireland Championship, but who do you think will win Munster?
Yeah, well, look, it's hard to take your eye off Tipperary last weekend. As I said, how good are Cork? But Tipper at a different level, As we said before, how good are Tipperary? There seems to be more of a confidence team at the minute, as in they play a good game and then their confidence up. Forwards are ticking nicely. Sheedy is obviously bringing an extra bit to them. Last year they kind of lost the run themselves. Michael Ryan had an inconsistent team, and I thought that kind of sucked the confidence out of him. Look, he took Barry out of full back. He was trying Pádraig Maher full back. Cathal Barrett was up and down. There was talk about him in a bit of trouble, not training, injured. There was just a bad vibe coming out of camp. And this year I just feel GD brings that element of kind of respect, and he's kind of gone with the old and trusted, and he picked a half-back line, I thought, on Sunday that were excellent. All the Mars, 4 points from play between the four of them, and I think he's going to go with that launch pad. And he brings a bit of steel to him. They were working harder last Sunday as well. Their work rate from the forwards was very good, I thought, and there was just a little bit more steel in them. Now, they weren't tested against Cork. That's the only thing, but look, they're thereabouts for a Munster Championship, I think.
Okay, and your final question, and don't get into too much trouble here. Give the current Kilkenny team a mark out of 10.
Yeah, there's going to be a dodgy one. Thanks for that, David. Throwing me straight.
It's all right. We'll throw you under the bus.
Yeah. The current look. I was very impressed with them last Saturday night. I was wondering what way they were going to perform. Obviously, with all the injuries, the spine of the back line was gone out of all injured, with Delaney and Killian Buckley and Owen Murphy, who's a huge loss. At the minute, I'll probably give him a 6 out of 10. And that's maybe a good thing, though, David, because they have plenty to work on. And towards the end of the game, I was in at it there. Towards the end of the game last weekend, they were actually getting better. The forwards were working better as a unit. They were getting more familiar with themselves. Jerry Aylward was coming into the game. Pádraig Wells going back centre back. So I think from every perspective, the players will be happy with the win, because Dublin did have them at back foot, but they came out fighting determination, which is always get Kilkenny under Brian Cody. That prevailed in the end, and the hard work. And I think Brian has a more clue of his Kilkenny team going forward. Plus the fact that hopefully Owen Murphy will get back in time if Kilkenny aren't gone at that stage. Delaney may be a full back. Hugh Lawler did okay when he went back as well. Tommy Welsh, excellent performance in the corner for a first round of the championship. Pádraig Welsh, as I said, in the half-back line. So they're more of a settled team, and I'd say they'll get a lot of confidence from that. Now, the only thing is, why I'm giving them a 6 out of 10, is everything went through TJ Reid as well. He was 212, he scored, but I was at it from his possession from game through the game, everything went through him. So I'm just really worried about if you take TJ Reid out of it, or if he gets injured, or if he's man-marked, then how would that Kilkenny team take over? But I think there's room for improvement. But as I said, TJ Reid is a huge cog in that wheel.
Okay, so that's why we have Aidan Fogarty on the Racing Post GAA Postcast. It's because he gives his native Kilkenny a 6 out of 10. And these are the men he's going to be meeting on the streets in the next week. Don't worry, we'll be there to back you up, Aidan. Okay, Damian, just some prices on a couple of Aidan selections there. Clare to win the All-Ireland and Tipperary to win Munster.
Clare are 13-2 to win the All-Ireland and Tip are 13-8 to win Munster.
Wow, okay. That's shortened considerably from last week. Okay, Damian, your quickfire questions for this week is, your first of 3 is, how was last weekend from a Paddy Power perspective on the hurling front, and what was your worst result?
Our worst result was Tip beating Cork. We kind of got one good result and one bad result last Sunday with the Tip. Clare beating Waterford was a good result for us, but Tip beating Cork was a poor result, so we laid Tip pretty heavily during the week. So yeah, Tip was definitely our poorest result last week.
Okay, your second question. Cork, Waterford and Dublin were all beaten last weekend, but which out of those 3 sides will go furthest in the All-Ireland race?
It's a tough enough one, really, because if you're looking at the 3 teams, I think
Cork will go the furthest. Come on.
Cork are the only one you could say really have a chance to win the All-Ireland, I think. But they're very, very... They're not certain to get out of Munster at all. They really have a tough path. We currently have them 5-4 to come in the top 3 in Munster. So I think if you're actually who will go furthest in the All-Ireland, Dublin would probably be favourites if you were pricing it up, because I think they have a better chance of getting out of Leinster than Cork or Waterford do of getting out of Munster. So Cork are the only All-Ireland contenders there, but they have a lot of work to do to get out of Munster.
Okay, very interesting. Okay, and your final question is, a free tenner. I'm throwing you a tenner. Who do you put it on to lift Liam at the current prices?
I'm gonna be a bit biased here maybe, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna put it on Tip at 7-2. I thought they were very impressive last week. When Tip are clicking, they can get up around 30 points every day, and it's very hard to get up to score that much. They will give you a chance defensively, but Tip are always going to score a lot, and to compete with them, you have to score a lot. And I think if they get to Croke Park with semi-finals and finals, and we see that work rate that they had last week and all the experience that they have there, I think they'd have very, very good chance against anyone.
Okay, so Tipperary at 7-2 to win the All-Ireland for Damian Fitzgerald from our sponsors, Paddy Power. So now it's time to look at this weekend's action and what a Sunday we have in store. 2 o'clock, Semple Stadium, Tipperary v Waterford. Damian, can we get some prices and handicaps, please?
Yeah, the prices are 2-5 Tip, 10-1 to draw, and 5-2 Waterford. The handicap is Tip -4 is 11-10, 12-1 the handicap draw, and Waterford +4 is 5-6.
Okay, Aidan Fogarty, can somebody tell me who the real Tipperary is? Is it last year's team or is it last week's team?
Well, not to be sitting on the fence, David. It's a bit of both, and I think it's. Well, I'm totally sitting on the fence there actually, but it's to get the level that the both sides of that out. Last year they didn't perform. The confidence was down, and I said they're a bit of a confidence team. Sheedy is gone in now, and they have a lot of respect for him. Obviously, he's a shrewd man. He works in the bank. He's good with numbers. He's good with people, and I think the players will buy into him. And the fact that he won the Ireland in 2010, players will have a belief system in him, and whatever he says, I think will go. And he has a kind of I'd imagine an aura in that dressing room where so respected that guys kind of, they know he's there, and he brings something to them that was missing over the last couple of years. And then you look at the skill level, that set of forwards, if they get going, they will make that ball purr, and they'll score, as I said, a good 220, 230. I think there's 222 they scored last weekend from play alone. So that'll tell you the combination that they have. But if they meet, I often say, if they meet maybe more of a Leinster team where there's kind of, it's really put up to them, where it's physical, where it's tough, where it's hard, that's where the questions are asked to the forward line then. Do they work hard enough, or will they be put on will it be bullied a small bit even and put on the back foot? So Tip can make a purr. Their confidence team, they're going so well. They're going into this game on a high. That Parky Queeve game was huge for them because they were beaten down there heavily last year against Cork and underperformed. So, and even the Tip supporters, there's an air of will they do it, and they're kind of saying, Tipperary, they let us down at the end of the day. So they need everything going with them. And I think that last week's performance is huge for them. And Waterford then, on the other hand, coming off a poor performance, I felt, down below in Welsher Park. And I don't know if they have the stuff to pull it back against an unformed Tip team. And I don't think they actually have the personnel. They're like as if, I don't know, they're looking for the Austin Gleeson magic. They're looking for maybe Pádraig Mahoney, 10 points of play. And when that doesn't happen, the energy is sucked out of them a bit, David.
Okay, Damian, is the 4-point handicap not reading too much into just one Tipperary performance?
I think it's a bit of both. And I thought Waterford were pretty poor last week, as Taggy said. Like, they only lost by a point, but I don't really know how they only lost by a point. Like, they looked well out of the game for long.
To the team that people on this podcast are saying could win the All-Ireland, surely Waterford are not that bad.
Yeah, I just, like, as we're saying, like, Tip are getting up there, like 2-22 with those type of scores. I don't think Waterford have the forwards to score that much. The one worry you would have with Tip maybe is that they might come out a bit flat this week after, like, they obviously put in massive effort into that game last week.
Nothing surer, I'd say.
And, like, it's an older team as well, so on the legs as well, they could come out a bit flat, but if Tip play anywhere near the way they did last week, I can't see Waterford scoring enough to compete with them.
Okay, what kind of a backlash are we going to see from Waterford, Aidan? Is it, like, do they have quality for a backlash even?
To be honest, I actually don't think they have the quality for a backlash. Like, they have great players, but they're playing kind of very individual, if you get me. They're not playing as a unit. Like, Noel O'Connor was a corner back, he was taken off. Austin Gleeson kind of plays his own game. It's not cohesive enough, and I don't think they have the big name players to actually put it up to Tipperary. And when you lose a big match like that, I feel it always has to be changes. But looking at the Waterford team, what changes are they going to make? Who have they else to bring on? What kind of impact can someone else off the bench make? They brought on Maurice Shanahan last weekend. He always makes an impact. Will they start him? Will they not? They're going back to their tried and trusted. And what I just felt, they just looked a bit flat in their own backyard, which they didn't like. And Pádraig Fanning is the manager. Like, he's very good with colleges. He's managing teams. Are they buying into him? Is there a bit of a lull now after Derek McGrath after leaving? I don't know. It's just as if they're missing that kind of X factor. And look, up front, I don't know whether they have the scoring capacity. Jamie Barron was one of the best midfielders last year, taken off in the match at the weekend, and he's a big player for him. And just confidence-wise, I'm not sure they can pull it out of the bag this weekend.
Okay, so from what you're saying and reading between the lines, I think you fancy Tipperary.
Yeah, I fancy Tipperary, and I fancy him on the handicap at a -4 at 11-10. I really do. I think they're on a high. They have a statement to make this year, and I think they're going to really go for this Munster Championship. And as I said, I don't think Waterford had the firepower or the belief even to put it up to them. And as I said, if they get a good start, maybe. But if Tip roll on from last week, very hard to see him. I'll be back in Tip on the handicap.
Okay, so it's Tipperary -4 for Aidan Fogarty. Damian Fitzgerald, what's the best bet on the match coupon?
My best bet is Waterford not to score a goal is 5-2. They've scored one goal in their last 4 games, and they haven't really made a lot of goal chances. They're looking a bit blunt inside the full forward line. Maybe if Maurice Shanahan comes in, he could change that a little bit. But Waterford not to score a goal at 5-2.
Okay, very interesting. And I think, surely Pádraig Fanning and his management team will come into this game and say to themselves, right, if this is a high-scoring, open shootout against Tipperary, there's only going to be one winner. Surely they're going to just tinker things a little bit and try and block up that scoring zone around the middle third of the pitch. And for that reason, I think this is going to be a completely different game to the one you saw last Sunday. And I think under 26.5 Waterford or Tipperary points at 5-6 with Paddy Power is the best bet on the coupon. So moving on to the big one, it's the return of the All-Ireland champions. It's the Gaelic grounds. It's 4 o'clock on Sunday. It is Limerick versus Cork. Damian, can we get some prices and handicaps?
It's 8-15 Limerick, 8-1 to draw, and 2-1 Cork. The handicap is 3 points. Limerick -3, 11-10. Handicap draw 11s, and Cork +3 is 5-6.
Right, Damian Fitzgerald. 2-1 Cork to beat a side they were better than in last year's All-Ireland semi-final. To beat a side who they beat in the Gaelic grounds in the league by 3 points back in February. 2-1 about Cork. Tell everybody why that is a great bet.
I kind of agree. I'd be back.
It worked. It worked.
I'd be backing Cork out of the two, definitely. All the money we've seen this week has been for Limerick, which maybe you'd expect with Cork being so bad last week. But I think Cork, the thing about Cork is they absolutely need to put in a performance here. Like, if they lose here, they're nearly as good as gone. So they're going to come out and they're going to put in a massive performance anyway, if they've anything left in them. Limerick might be a little bit undercooked, maybe not having a game. Like, you could probably pick holes in Limerick's league form a little bit if you wanted to as well. Like, in the knockouts, they bet Laois, Dublin and Waterford, which none of those teams probably are at the level that Cork should be at. So, yeah, I think Cork need to put in a performance here, and I give them a pretty good chance at 2-1, yeah.
Oh, that is beautiful to listen to. Yes, I think you're spot on. Aidan, I have a feeling you're not going to join this love-in.
Well, in fairness to him, he touched on very valid points where, look, Cork are backs against the wall now, and they really have to put in a performance to try and get into the Munster, get into the last 8, and if they lose, they're nearly just really gone out of the Munster Championship. And as I said, Cork trouble Limerick. They do. They're running game. You see them last year in the semi-final, like a touch of a ball, and that's all it was. And Cork could have been in an Ireland final, but I think that's sucking the energy out of them. I think it's going to be a really close game. We haven't seen Limerick yet, and the thing with Limerick, starting out in the championship, they cruise through the league champions, doing very well. It's up to John Kiley now to keep them boys grounded, keep them kind of humble, keep them hungry, kind of hunger, and that seeps into an Ireland winning team, no matter what it is. You're walking around town, everyone's patting you on the back, you're this, you're brilliant. Look, another All-Ireland there for you. But I think John Kiley is controlling it, and the vibe coming out of the camp is the guys are very grounded, but it does seep into you mentally at some stage. Cork have a win, or sorry, not a win, but obviously a game underneath their belts. That can be a huge thing also going into a first round. Limerick may be a little bit cold, but on the backside of that, Cork confidence will be down so much because it was a home game and they lost pretty poorly to Tipperary, so they'll be really under pressure to get it. So I think it'll actually be a really close game. I think it will be a high scoring game, and as I said, last year all these draws, mine is a draw at 8-1. Why not?
Yeah, 8-1. I can see where you're coming from there. Probably is a big price given the two teams and how closely matched they were in last year's All-Ireland semi-final. Damian, have we just fallen into the trap though of thinking Limerick are actually better than they actually are? Because I remember just say Tipperary a couple of years ago when they won the All-Ireland, they looked so good in the league, and you just wonder about Limerick. Like last year has been and gone, and everybody seems to think, it's a formality that Limerick will reach the All-Ireland semi-final. It's a formality that they'll almost get to another All-Ireland final. Like, did they not just hit form at the right time last year? And are we giving them too much credit for last year's All-Ireland success?
Well, they won the All-Ireland fair and square last year, and I think they were the best team. But I don't think. They were lucky enough probably to win the All-Ireland semi-final, and there was only a point. I know they were by far the better team, but there was only a point in it against a Galway side that played terribly in the All-Ireland final. So they're small margins. Yeah, I don't think there's anything to say that they're ahead of the pack. Really, I don't think there's anything to say that they're miles ahead of Cork, Clare, Galway, Tip, Kilkenny. Even There's no. We saw the league, but I really don't think the league in hurling. I really don't think you can take much out of it. I think most teams were just kind of just playing games and tipping away. I don't think anyone was really going all out for the league. And Limerick, the one thing Limerick definitely do have, is they have a stronger panel than anyone else, I will say. Which is they're always going to be, if they're around level with about 20 minutes to go, they're always going to have the players to spring from the bench and maybe get them over the line. So that is maybe the one advantage I do think they have over everyone else. But I don't think they're miles ahead of everyone at all. And they're gonna if they do win the All-Ireland, they're gonna find it difficult.
Okay, Damian Fitzgerald, everybody at 4:00 on Sunday, about 10 to 4. There'll be some of them will be in their local boozer, some will be at home in front of their television screens, all mad for a bet. What is the best bet on the match coupon, Limerick versus Cork?
Well, I like Cork for the match, but the one I like a little bit more than that is Cork to be leading at half time at 13-8, because I think Cork are going to come out here very hard, and Limerick not having a game last week might be a little undercooked, so I can see Cork really coming out in the first half and getting the lead at half time, and maybe Limerick will be able to bring it back with that strong panel near the end, but I think Cork to lead at half time at 13-8 is a good bet.
Loving the sound of that. Aidan Fogarty, the best bet on the coupon?
Yeah, the best bet on the coupon for me, I'm going to go for first draw of the championship. I think Cork will come out all guns blazing, but I think Limerick and their experience now and their sense of kind of not letting games slip, I think they'll bring it back, and that's a good point that he made there, where they have the bench to finish out games, and I just think a draw at 8-1 is a good price.
Okay, you're almost right. You're a couple of points wrong, but you're almost right. I think Cork are going to prove that 2-1 to win any game, for Cork to win any match, I think is huge. And I think we're going to see potentially one of the best bets in the summer. 2-1 Cork for me to beat Limerick in the Gaelic grounds like they did in the league. That's the bet for me. So moving on to Parnell Park, 3 o'clock on Sunday. It is Dublin v Wexford. Damien, take it away.
Dublin are 5-6. The draw is 8-1, and Wexford are 13-10. Dublin -1 is 11-10. 10-1 the handicap draw, and Wexford +1 5-6.
Aidan Fogarty, you were in Nolan Park last Saturday night. Give Dublin a mark out of 10 for their performance.
Give Dublin a mark out of 10. I would give them about a 6.5 out of 10, David. Yeah, they were very
my
good.
teacher in school.
But I think there's room for improvement as well. I am a very tough marker, but to win All Ireland, you have to go about 8 or 9, and all these teams have to improve from what I seen the weekend to get there. But Dublin, I feel they're a very good team, but what's letting them down are the forwards. Like their half back line, Chris Cummey, Sean Moore, and Shane Barrett, very good half back line. Owen O'Donnell full back. He'd make most inter-county teams. So I think their back line are exceptional, and they kept our forwards very, very quiet. Last week, Shane Barrett, Chris Cummey was man marking Walter, and Shane Barrett was man marking TJ. And albeit TJ only scored 212, but a lot of that was from frees and stuff. So I think they are a very good half back line, and that's a good launch pad. But going forward, it's just they're letting them down. Liam Rush is probably the only man up in the forwards where there's kind of a target point. And David Tracy didn't perform. Fergus Whiteley, these guys, they just haven't got the X factor. And with every team, I think you have a Gillan or you have a TJ or Shane O'Donnell. You look at Dublin, who have they got up there as a real kind of presence and a real kind of a person to change a game and take it by the scruff of the neck. I don't think Dublin have it, even though I think they are very good and they will get better. They could have a better team out. For them to go forward for an Ireland final, I'd be putting Liam Rush back centre back and Sean Moore out in the wing. And if they could find one or two forwards, that's their downfall, really.
Okay, Damian Fitzgerald, who wins this one? It's very tight in the betting.
I think Dublin will win it. I think the main thing that make me think Dublin win it is it's in Parnell Park. Dublin have a really, really good record in Parnell Park to Dublin hurlers. I think it's one of the biggest home advantages in any match in GAA. I just think, it's a tight pitch, and Dublin are well used to playing there, and they bet Waterford in the league there. Kilkenny should have beaten Kilkenny there in the championship last year. They don't really lose too often there, and I'm not really sure how Wexford are coming into the match. It's kind of hard to know. I think at Parnell Park will just tip the balance for Dublin, and they'd be my pick anyway.
Couldn't agree more. Are you going to make it a hat-trick, Aidan?
Yeah, definitely. I think Damien hit the nail on the head. Parnell Park, it's an awful place to go at a tight field. They have made it a fortress over the years. Wexford come up. Not sure what to make of Wexford, really. They're going to play a sweeper system. It'll be a tight game, but I suspect Dublin will get over the line in Parnell Park, at the home venue.
Okay, are we just tipping Dublin straight, or are we going for them on the handicap?
Well, actually, I saw a good one there. It was, I think it's going to be a very tight game, and with Davy Fitz coming with a sweeper, and I think Sean Moore will probably drop back then for Dublin as a sweeper. I think there's going to be very little goals, so there's a good one there, under 1.5 goals at 11-4. That's my bet on the coupon.
Okay, I like the sound of that. A nice price, 11-4 as well. Damien Fitzgerald, your best bet on the coupon?
Yeah, I'd probably just pick. I think Taggy's probably onto something there with the goals. I'd probably pick Dublin at 5-6. I think I'll make it too complicated.
Okay, we'll keep it very simple. Dublin, so we're all over Dublin on the GAA Postcast for this week. And the final game is, of course, at Netwatch Cullen Park. It is Carlow v Kilkenny. And the only question we want to ask here is, will Kilkenny defy an 11-point handicap? Galway couldn't defy the handicap last week. Can Kilkenny do it this week? Do you think they'll win by 12 points or more, Aidan?
I think there's a high possibility of it, yeah. I think the element of surprise has kind of gone from Carlow just slightly. And I'd be more looking at the Galway performance maybe up in Salt Hill. I think Galway are flipped a small bit. Joe Canning was missing, and that fight, that intensity, that kind of determination and drive, I just don't see it in Galway yet. I think they're tipping along nicely, but I just feel the level has dropped mentally rather than kind of physically, and they're kind of going back to the same players again. We talked about them last year. They obviously early on in the year last year they were Ireland contenders, and as we said about Limerick now, they're up there and they have every panel and they have every best player, but really do they? You know, they're going back to the same kind of fellas coming on again, and they're starting different lads in different positions. So I think they're struggling to get players, new players, and kind of an injection of new life into that Galway team. Now, in saying that, Carlow are, I think, a very hard team to beat, and it's one of these games where you should be beating Carlow from a Kilkenny perspective, and that's no disrespect to Carlow. From a Kilkenny's perspective, you should be beating Carlow, and I think they're going to be ready for him. And I think with all the injuries Kilkenny have, there's places up for grabs, and I think that's what Cody be saying this week. There's jerseys on your backs. Keep the jersey or lose the jersey, and it doesn't matter who you're playing. So I think the players themselves will be well up for that game, and the element of surprise is gone for them. So I think, and with TJ Reid in the form, there was no Joe Canning last weekend. We have a TJ Reid this weekend. I just think there's a possibility of beating the handicap.
Excellent. And for you, Damian, could you see them winning by 12 points or more?
I wouldn't have a very. I'd probably just go Carlow if I was picking one side. I think like the home advantage and Dr. Cullen Park's a tight ground. Like probably most of the Kilkenny players haven't played much there, and like I think they'll just keep it within the handicap as long as they don't get anyone sent off, which they do have a habit of doing. So I think if they can keep 15 on the field, they might just beat the handicap.
Okie dokes. So now it's time for the best bets of the weekend.
This will not be beaten.
So Aidan Fogarty, you're back. You had a terrific record with your bankers last year in the championship. No pressure going into your first nap of the 2019 championship, which is?
Best of the weekend for me is Tipperary, Limerick, Dublin and Laois to win at 6-1. Give me a letter.
Okay, that's a big one. Give us them teams again.
Tipperary, Limerick, Dublin and Laois to win, and it's a special on Paddy Power at 6-1.
So four, an accumulator for Aidan Fogarty to kickstart his first nap of the 2019 championship. Damian Fitzgerald, your nap of the weekend on the hurling front?
I'll go with that Cork to be leading at half time at 13-8.
Okay, excellent. And of course, my bet of the weekend is my beloved Cork at 2-1, which I think is a cracking price. My thanks to Aidan Fogarty for all his expertise on the hurling front, for Damian Fitzgerald for being with us for the football and hurling chat. I've been David Jennings from the Racing Post. Don't forget to join us every Friday for the GAA Postcast.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet then next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.